Welcome to this local tribunal for the rights of Lake Vättern. My name is Hana Begovic, and I will be the Secretariat for this tribunal. I would like to give a special welcome to Vttern, who is here present with us today for this session, and is in the very center of our tribunal. So, before I go into explaining a little bit what the tribunals are about, I would like to just talk very briefly about the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, where I'm working as the organizer. And this is one organization that was part of the planning for this conference, and we're very happy to be here. So the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature is a dynamic and diverse international network of organizations, communities, and individuals dedicated to advancing the rights of nature movement by growing and informing a cultural and a legal shift in different parts of the world. And GARN serves as an international hub for exchanging knowledge and information, offering rights of nature expertise, establishing earth jurisprudence through high-profile rights of nature tribunals, and sharing educational materials, resources, and trainings to social movements, governments, allies, and communities around the world. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction to what these tribunals are and what we try to achieve with them. So the tribunals the International Rights of Nature Tribunal has since 2010 organized and held 4 international hearings with cases from all around the world, and 5 hearings with a local and regional focus. And these tribunals are a unique citizen-created initiative. The tribunal provides a systemic alternative to environmental protection, acknowledging that ecosystems have the right to exist, persist, maintain, and regenerate their vital cycles with legal standing in a human court of law. So the tribunal provides a framework for educating civil society and governments on the fundamental tenets of the rights of nature. Furthermore, the tribunal serves as a mechanism for legal experts to examine constructs needed to more fully integrate rights of nature. They are ethical tribunals, which means that there is not a legally binding sentence, but however, their foundational framework is the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth. And that means that the declaration fundamentally shapes the process and discourse of this entire space by setting both a legal, moral, and cultural framework to this hearing, its presentations, and the judgment of the rights of nature experts who are our esteemed judges today. So before presenting our esteemed judges and going through some practical things, I would just like to give you also a brief insight in what the declaration states and how it kind of relates to what we're doing today. So in the declaration, Mother Earth is a living being with inherent right to life and to exist, the right to be respected, the right to integral health, the right to a free life from contamination, pollution, and toxic or radioactive waste. It also includes the right to regenerate its biocapacity and to continue its vital cycles and processes free from human disruptions. And as Mary Margle shared with us this morning, in the majority of our current systems of law, nature has no legal standing and cannot be defended as an integral being with rights and intrinsic value. And that is why we need declarations like this one and spaces like this amazing conference. We need to show how we can shift the legal status of ecosystems from being human property or merely objects of the law to being recognized as living entities in their own right, as subjects of the law. So, practicalities. So today we have a session from 4 to 6. There's going to be a short break of 5 minutes just to stretch your legs a little bit. And then tomorrow morning at 9:15, there's going to be a presentation of the judgment. So today we will not hear the conclusions, We will hear some reflections from the judges at the end, but the verdict itself, the judgment, will be presented tomorrow morning. If there is any additional evidence that anyone would like to hand in to the tribunal to be taken into consideration for the verdict, you can bring that to me, and I will hand it to the president and the judges. So this is a layout of the people who are involved in this tribunal session, and I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. You're amazing people, and I'm really happy to be working with you. So I will be presenting the judges so that you have an insight of their background and their expertise. So let's begin with our president, the president of this tribunal session, Stefan Mikaelsson, with roots in the indigenous Sami nation of Sweden, who has worked with Sami policy since 1986 as a way to contribute and share his knowledge with the Sami community. He is very passionate about the Sami forests below the Lapland boundary and dedicated to protecting these beautiful lands. During the years of 1996 to 2009, Stefan was vice chairman at the Sami Parliament Bureau, and in the years of 2009 to 2017, he was the chairman of the Sami Parliament. He was also a participant and presenter at the 4th International Rights of Nature Tribunal, held in Bonn, Germany in 2017. Later on, we have Margaret Stewart. Margaret serves as the director at the Center for Jurisprudence, a United States-based legal advocacy center. The mission of the Center for Earth Jurisprudence for the center is to advance law, policy, and governance systems aimed to legally protect the sustainability of life and health on Earth. She has created educational forums throughout the US and abroad and generates strategic partnerships. Margaret also serves on the executive committee of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. And lastly, we have Tom Goldtooth of the Indigenous Peoples of Diné and Dakota. He is the executive director of the Indigenous Environmental Network and has been a social change maker within the Native American community for over 36 years. He has become an internationally renowned environmental, climate, and economic justice leader, working with many Indigenous people and social movements around the world. He is also the co-founder of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature and part of the executive committee, and was the president of the 4th International Rights of Nature Tribunal that we held in Bonn, Germany. Let's see here. Not today. No judge today. So yeah, lastly, I wanted to just recommend you to enter the webpage of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. We have a webpage that is being built right now for the International Rights of Nature Tribunal. They announced yesterday that it's going to be ready on May 15th. So I invite you to join and to check out the website. And I wanted to also finish off by asking you to be our journalists for the day. Because these tribunals, when they have the deeper impact is when we share in social media and in news about what is happening and why it matters. So I invite you to write on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if you have any media contacts, to just share, spread the word about this session. And you can use the hashtag Tribunal Vättern when you do that. Perfect. And then now I would like to give the word to the president, Stefan Mikaelsson.
Distinguished judges, prosecutors, experts and affected of the Tribunal for the Rights of Lake Vättern, honored participants, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers, welcome to the Tribunal for the Rights of Lake Vättern. My name is Stefan Mikaelsson and I am a member of the Sami Parliament Plenary Assembly since 1993. I am also the president of the judges and I acknowledge my colleague, Judge Margaret Stewart, and my colleague, Judge Tom Goldtooth. I also acknowledge Prosecutor Gunilla Högberg Björck, expert Pia Björstrand, and affected Bengt Eriksson. Since 1992, the ecosystems of the Earth have been compounding in change. We are in crisis. We are in an accelerating spiral of climate change that will not abide the greedy growth economy. Today, we reaffirm our relationship to Mother Earth and our responsibility to coming generations to uphold peace, equity, and justice. End of quoting. This was a quote from the Indigenous NGO Kimberley Declaration, established prior to the WSSD in Johannesburg in 2002. More accurate now than then. And 16 years later, at the 79th plenary meeting of Sami Parliament Plenary Assembly, on the glorious day of May 25, 2018, the Plenary Assembly decided to unanimously adopt the Declaration of Mother Earth's Rights. The background to the Parliament decision is the brutal experience of colonial intrusion, the unlimited exploitation of today's natural resources, and thus escalating global warming that threatens the entire indigenous culture globally. On May 6th this year, the most ambitious review of the state of nature globally came to date. The report from the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services shows that, and I quote, nature managed by indigenous peoples and local communities is under increasing pressure. Nature is generally declining less rapidly in indigenous peoples' land than in other lands. That reads the report. Indigenous peoples are not part of the problem. We are part of the solution, and only together with local municipalities can we create a different world with clean water, old forests, and a living culture heritage. Never have we had a better opportunity to do so, to increase cooperation with local network, non-indigenous with small-scale activities, and indigenous peoples in symbiosis. So the globalization gives us unforeseen advantages that we must use for the benefit of the survival of coming generation. Ending my statement with the spiritual performance on Guaktelogi Ovtsi, 29 in Northern Sami. With that, this tribunal will be formally opened. You are hereby all very much welcome.
Guaktelogi ovtsi ochot lietatachan jeidat, otalkodat vastidi, otages samin jeitat. Hanene noine noine noino, hanene noine noine noio. Hanene noine noine noino, hanene noine noio. Luntun chappis vuoda siste leison pajasatan, etnis tilskar arben lei on luntun chappa moi. Hanene noine noine noino, hanene noine noine noio. Hanene noine noine noino, hanene noine noio. Olokito, tack så mycket.
Does everybody hear now? Honorable Court, my name is Gunilla Högberg Björck, and I have been an environmental lawyer for almost 30 years. For more than 20 years, I have been defending the environment and people in Swedish courts, in the EU court, and in the European Court of Human Rights. Today I'm here as a prosecutor of the earth, and especially of the Lake Vättern. I ask permission of the court to start these proceedings.
On behalf of my position and together with my colleagues, I grant you the right to speak now.
Thank you. As a prosecutor, I declare that there are activities, both ongoing and planned, that threatens the ecosystem of the Lake Vättern and thereby violates the rights of the lake according to the Declaration of the Right of the Lake Vättern. Several serious crimes have been committed and others are being planned. These crimes consist of activities that, among other things, will cause pollution of the water body and the soil, leading to exceeding of environmental quality standards for water, causing decline of drinking water quality, bring harm and deterioration of natural habitats protected as Natura 2000 sites, result in disturbance and eradication of endangered species, causing inconvenience for people and animals in the form of noise and emissions. Because of these actions, it will be impossible to protect and uphold the healthy environment in and around the Lake Vättern. Thereby, it is imminent. The lake is in imminent danger of irreversible devastation due to continued abuse by people and companies, enabled by governmental policies, permitting and licensing authorities and courts, and lack of protective intervention. The main defendants in this case are the Swedish Armed Forces, the company Leading Edge Material Corps, and the company European Cobalt Ltd. These parties has been given the opportunity to participate here today. Only one of them, Leading a Material Corps, has responded and declined to the invitation. However, the company has sent a statement for the court. May I ask the Secretary to present the statement to the court and to me?
Okay, so I'm gonna hand over. Let's see where I should walk. It's a little tricky here. Okay. So officially, I'm giving the reply from one of the actors from Tasman Metals AB. There you go, that you can take into consideration in this process.
Other defendants in this case are also the Environmental Review Committee of Västra Götaland, the Land and Environmental Court of Vänersborg, the government, the Mining Inspectorate, the Administrative Court of Luleå, and the Administrative Court of Appeal of Sundsvall. These defendants are accused of enabling the activities and the crimes. I intend to present evidence and arguments for these alleged crimes. I will call upon an expert and a witness. And I now call upon the expert to give her statement. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us why you are an expert in this case?
Honorable Lake Vättern, President, Judges and Prosecutor. I am a daughter of Vättern, and I would like to start with celebrating Vättern with a song. Unfortunately, this will be in Swedish. Med Vättern vid mina fötter tittar ut över vidsträckta ytor. Med Vättern vid mina fötter känns alla bekymmer så små. Tänk att det kan lugna så Vatten som stilla skvalpar över en sten och vinden som rör vid mig. Trevande sakta smeker den brunbrända ben. Jag sitter här utan att göra något särskilt. Jag bara är just så som våren omkring mig. Solen har gått i moln. Vatten som varit blått förvandlas till grått. Men luften är varm och jag sitter kvar här en stund. På en stor och skrovlig sten plaskar jag med tårna i vattnet och kvällen börjar visst bli sen. Vad gör det? Jag har inga planer och krav. Jag sitter kvar utan att göra något särskilt. Folk bara far sig, gör det de lyckliga tro. Med Vättern vid mina fötter tar jag mig tid att lyssna på livet, för vågorna vid mina fötter har spolat bort all min stress. Känner ingen oro mer. Allt det där, det kan nog ordnas. Jag tittar upp och det jag ser, ändlös skönhet, ger mig glädje och ro. Jag sitter still utan att göra något särskilt. Och allt jag vill, det är väl att bara få finnas till. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. You tried hard. It was a bit difficult. All right. So, beside being a daughter of Vttern, I'm also a lawyer. And I'm a co-founder of Swedish Earthright Lawyers. We have been following the cases of Vättern for a long time. And we have also been meeting with the local groups.
So can you give us a short introduction of the Lake Vättern and why is it worth saving and treasuring?
I will. I will only show shortly the Declaration of Rights of Lake Vättern. You could read it, it's quite long, but the important part is that we declare that Lake Vättern possesses the right to exist, flourish, and naturally evolve. The Lake Vättern shall include all natural water features, communities of organisms, soil, as well as terrestrial and aquatic sub-ecosystems that are part of Lake Vättern. So, in short, all living beings living in and on the shores of Lake Vättern. So I will now tell you a bit about Lake Vättern. Vättern is the second largest lake by surface area in Sweden. In this picture you could see it as a long blue lake close to the edge of the picture. It's the sixth largest lake in Europe. The lake's total surface area is about 1,912 kilometers, and it's very deep, 128 meters at its deepest. The volume of water is 77 cubic kilometers. Vättern has long been famous for the excellent quality of its transparent water. Many of the municipalities in the area receive their drinking water directly from Vättern, so you could actually go to Vättern in most places and drink the water, which is unique, I would say, in our times. It has been suggested that Vättern is the largest body of potable water in the world. So it's a unique water resource. It could be used as water source for large part of southern Sweden, and it might have to if Mälaren is threatened by climate change and salt water coming in from Östersjön. But right now it is used as a water source for 250,000 people. The water has a long turnover, so it's very sensitive. You could wonder where does the name come from? Some people think it comes from Vättern, but it has also been suggested that the archaic term Vätter, meaning forest or lake spirits, it's the origin of the lake's name. There are many legends about Vättern. It lives in spirit with people, with the local people. One of the more well-known tales is about the giant Vttern. He had been at a dinner with his wife on the western side of Vättern, but on the way back the wife had eaten so much so she couldn't pass the whole lake in one step. So the gentleman husband, he took a big chunk of land and threw it into the lake, and so the wife could step over. And this became the island Visingsö, and the whole became another lake, Lake Landsjön. And this sculpture of the giant Vttern was made by a local artist, Kalle Örnemark. It stands in Huskvarna, where I'm from. The nature around Vättern is unique, with lush forests. It has been an inspiration to many. This picture, that comes from a very famous Swedish fairy tale, has been painted by a famous Swedish artist called John Bauer. Unfortunately, he drowned with his whole family on a boat in Vättern in a storm. So you could say Vättern gives and Vättern takes. Vättern is also widely noted for its fishing. It's serving people in the nearby districts as well as tourists and vacationers. So you are free to fish in the lake as long as you don't use nets. The lake is also used for commercial fishing, but several fish populations in Vättern are threatened by human activities and pollution. The area around Vättern is commonly used for sport activities and recreation. And the land areas close to Vättern are rare and sensitive. The Vättern steeps and the mountain Omberg are nature reserves with rich biodiversity and beautiful nature. The nature in these parts really is invaluable. It has strong value of nature and culture for the surrounding areas as well as tourists. Sorry. Now I jumped ahead a bit.
Which are the most imminent threats to the lake as you see it?
The threats to the lake are the military shooting into the lake, an extended activity at the military airport, and mining metals close to the lake.
Please tell us more about why the military activities are a threat to the ecosystem and to the people affected around the lake.
I will. It's very unfortunate that the very forces that are put to defend our country actually attacks the country and threatens these vulnerable areas. What the Swedish armed forces wants to do in and around Lake Vättern is that they want to extend their shooting activities into the Lake Vättern, and they also want to extend the activity at the airport.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the shooting? What's the problem with those?
The permit requested about shooting is to extend the practice, so they already have a permit to have 20 days of shooting a year. But they want to extend this to 50 days with at most 44,000 shots of fine calibered ammunition, 25,000 shots of large caliber ammunition, and 150 practice rockets a year being shot straight into Vättern.
What would you say would be the best arguments against these shootings?
Well, the shooting would harm the rare and sensitive land areas close to Vättern. It will harm the water, affect nature experience for people, cause disturbing noises, of course, harm the wildlife, and harm activities by the lake like farming, tourism, and fishing.
How would the wildlife be affected?
The bird life around Vättern is very special. Studies of wildlife have shown that birds are severely affected by the shootings. There are many protected species within the affected area. 2 of these species do not have a satisfactory preservation status, And these shootings would violate the right of the birds to reproduce and live in peace. Also, we have the fish. Many fish, especially asp, which I don't know the English word for, has been severely affected by the military activity in the lake. The Swedish armed forces have actually bombed their playing grounds, leading almost to extinction of that species in the lake. Fish from Vättern is also attacked by other things. They are already contaminated by quicksilver and ethyl quicksilver because of former activity in the lake. There are dioxins in the fish, which has led the Swedish National Food Agency to advise that pregnant women and children should not even eat fish from Vättern. There should be no more pollution of the lake and the fish. Röding, which is the fish on this picture, and harr do not have a satisfactory preservation status.
What about the effects on the water itself?
These shootings would mean that dangerous metals, plastic and other waste would fall directly into the lake. This would of course affect the water quality negatively. Also, you could see that the air will be polluted by carbon dioxide as well as other polluting gases. This pollution should not be augmented by new permission. The permission would violate the right of the lake to be free of contamination.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the airport expansion and the impact from that?
Of course. So, the county administration in this region granted the Swedish Armed Forces a permit to expand Karlsborg's airport, and this was as late as the 6th February 2019. This license allows 9,300 flight movements per calendar year with military aviation activities, 300 flight movements per calendar year with other aviation activities, and a total of 1,000 troop lifts and emergency trainings with helicopters. This would impact the bats colony in close to Vättern in Karlsborg's fortress, with the noise, with the chemical products and hazardous waste. The permission would violate the right of the lake to be free of contamination, as well as the right of life around the lake to reproduce and live in peace.
There are other threats to the lake in form of mining plans. In what way would those plans constitute a threat to the ecosystem and to human rights, would you say?
There are two mining permissions being processed right now. There's a case of Norra Kärr. There, the chief mining inspector granted Tasman Metals an exploitation permit for minerals in 2013, and this was close to the east coast of Vättern. Luckily, this decision was repealed 2016 by the Supreme Court, but they didn't give up, so they have a new pending decision by the chief mining inspector that we are waiting for summer 2019. There is also a case of exploration permit from European Cobalt Limited at Havsmoon, that is close to the west coast of Vättern, and this mining company has been granted an exploration permit. The dangers to the environment consist of contamination and noise. There could be impact on rare and endangered species. There's a big risk of toxic waste coming into Lake Vättern, threatening the water resource and having negative impact on the surrounding protected environment. So, giving this permission would violate the right of the lake to be free of contamination, as well as the right of life around the lake to reproduce and live in peace. And now we will see if the technology is with me, because I will try to show a short film about this to show you more about these threats. Unfortunately, I can't open it. I don't know. Just a minute. I'll see if I can start from here. Here, let's see. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't find the server, so we'll skip that.
Okay. So, if you were the Lake Vättern, what would you say about these threats and these dangers of the ecosystem?
If I were the lake, I would feel attacked by these activities. I would feel violated and dirty. I would, yes.
So finally, what are you asking the judges to do?
So due to what I've said, the rights of the lake to stay clean, to have living species that can live in peace and thrive in and around the lake, I ask the court to state that the asked permissions for shooting in the lake, mining close to the lake, and expanding the airport close to the lake cannot be granted.
Does the court have any questions for the expert?
There we go. Okay. Thank you so much for presenting that evidence to us today. You spoke about, how many people are reliant on Lake Vttern for a potable source of water, and the potential of even more people becoming reliant on it in the future due to the effects of climate change. And so I was curious, is this solely due to the effects of climate change, or are there other bodies of water throughout Sweden that are dealing with the same issues as Lake Vttern?
Yes, there are many lakes that are threatened, and as I said, Lake Vttern is the cleanest lake, so many lakes are threatened by contamination of different sources.
Okay. And I just have one more question. You presented evidence on the proposed rare earth element mining in Norrashar and the European cobalt mines. Are there any other mining operations currently running around the lake? And if so, do we have any evidence about the effects that it's having on Lake Vttern and the surrounding ecosystem?
Yes, there is a mine currently running, and it has been contaminating the water for a long time, unfortunately.
I would like to ask a question. The process of militarization is not only one single or randomly performed military execution or shooting. It consists of, for instance, mining activities, electricity production, and it's building weapon production, and testing the weapon. And in Sweden, there are several testing grounds for weapon. But using these harsh and brutal methods can, in many cases, increase the social disturbance of and differences, social inequalities in the country. For instance, says that WHO definition of health is that it's not only an absence of damage and injuries, but it also social well-being. Has these activities caused any inequality in decreasing in the social well-being in the neighborhood, in the communities around here? Have you seen noticed anything? Thank you.
Oh, I actually would like to refer that to the witness that is that's living locally, because I cannot answer that question. I'm sorry.
And in the Arctic, we can notice that just a few days ago, the Arctic Council failed in producing a state-ending document of the conference where the ministers were present due to the belligerency between the different Arctic countries. And it is also not only testing weapon, but food production and the food sovereignty that you, as a small-scale farmer or a small-scale fisher, can control your own production of food will be more important in future than it is today. And we avoid to import expensive food and have the poor to starve, or those who produce this food in other countries to starve because we have money and can buy it. How is the food production affected here?
Well, I would begin to state that I find it abominable that we lay so much resources on military when we have a current threat of climate change, of biodiversity loss, and all these things that do threaten our food production in Sweden. We have had the drought last summer that really affected food production badly. So we can see already climate change threatening the land, and still the resources are laid on military rather than protecting our country for real.
Yes, I have two questions. You made a statement that the fish were not safe to eat. What kind of toxic chemicals are causing this disharmony of the fish, the lake, and the watershed and ecosystem?
So the toxins in the fish are mainly dioxins and quicksilver. That is from former activities and also from paper industry.
I have experience on dealing with the issues of rights, not only human rights, but the rights of fish and the rights of ecosystems around the issue of dioxin. Dioxin is very persistent. It's an organic pollutant, and it bioaccumulates and biomagnifies, especially in fish population, and humans consume the fish. I'm assuming that the state is aware of the dangers of dioxin. Have they used the environmental laws and health laws to stop the violators, the perpetrators of the Universal Declaration on the Rights of Mother Earth? Have they acknowledged this danger and with intent to just shut down the release of these dioxins?
No, they haven't. They have only asked people to protect themselves by not eating the fish. Thank you.
Are the court finished with the questions? Okay. We will take a short break now, so I leave the floor to the Secretariat.
Which one?
That.
Yeah. Let's see, should I maybe get down here? So we're going to have a 5-minute leg stretching break. So we will be back here at 55. And starting again with the affected person presenting. Thank you. Okay, everyone, we're gonna get started, or continue rather. Thank you. I will give the word to the president. Är hans mick på?
The break is now over and we continue with our tribunal session. Judge Tom Goldtooth has asked for possibility to make an intervention, to ask a question, and he's granted that. Please continue, Tom.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I have one more question I want to ask. And as a judge, I'm trying to get the evidence to make a case as a judge and working with the prosecutor. The tool we're using, the reference is the Universal Declaration on the Rights of Mother Earth that was adopted at the World People's Conference on Climate Change and the Rights of Mother Earth in Cochabamba. This was in 2010. Having participated in previous tribunals, this is the tool, the reference that we utilize. So to make the question as a judge about the violation of Article 2, inherent rights of Mother Earth, which includes the water system, is what, again, this contamination, and thank you for responding to dioxin issue. I'm curious on the mining, and is there a violation on the right to life to exist, the right to continue the vital life cycles and processes of Mother Earth and its water system? The right to water as a source of life, the right to integral health, and the right to be free from contamination, pollution, and toxic or radioactive waste. So I have a question, do you know the effects of the heavy metals from the mining industry on this lake and the ecosystem?
Thank you for this question. Unfortunately, this is not my area, but fortunately, I do have a colleague with me today, Carl Schlüter, who knows everything about this. Please welcome him to the court.
Thank you very much, and I grant the third part intervention to this tribunal. Carl Schlüter, you are now granted the permission to speak.
Thank you, dear court and the judges. Yes, we see that the heavy metals are present both in the munitions of the military, mainly lead, but also as a leaking point from the mining reservoirs that will eventually leak into the lake, independent on what the company does. Actually, the design of the dams will certainly leak these heavy metals into the lake. And heavy metals have a strong impact on aquatic environments. Many fish are high in omega-3 fatty acids, and it accumulates there and affects fish in several ways. They can become anemic, and it reduces cognitive functions of the fish. So you can say that heavy metals reduce the possibility for a good life quality in the living organisms of the lake, and I consider that to be a fundamental breach of their right to a healthy life and the life of the lake. And this happens even in low concentrations. And now, when the military has been granted 7 times more munition bombing into the lake, additionally, the rockets fired use these lead-containing fuels as propellants. So the concentration will increase in the lake. Additionally, in European legislation, military use have certain exemptions from chemical law, which means, in Europe, that it's also difficult for the court to judge the effect of this high level of military munition bombings into the lake, because they have not been approved with normal environmental impact assessment standards. The military has an exemption from this. So this double risk to living organisms in the lake, I would say, would threaten the life quality of the living organisms in the lake. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the statement. Now I will grant Margaret Stewart possibility to ask a question.
I just have a quick question for our third-party presenter. Would you be willing to draft up your presentation to the court today so that the judges have it for our deliberations?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We continue in the program. The prosecutor will continue.
It's now time to call upon the witness in this case. Is everything ready? Can you please present yourself and tell us in what way you are affected, both for your own sake and for the sake of the community, by these threats that you've been hearing about?
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here today, and I am very positive to this organization. I hope that my witness statement will have some effect. You know, my name is Bengt Eriksson, and I'm really not an expert on biology, but I have personal experience from Lake Vättern since the beginning of the 80s. And I've been living very close to the lake the last 10 years with my family. And my family is really my priority. This is my main interest. I have many children and grandchildren, and I'm really upset about what will happen with the Vttern in the future and for our future generations. In my professional activity is a medical doctor, so I'm used to cure people, but curing Vttern is not as easy, really. But I'm doing my best, and we are a group of people working very hard to make people more aware of the threats to the lake. And we are now 1,250 members of this organization, and we are really looking forward to this initiative from the Tribunal, and we hope this will lead to something that might give better protection to Lake Vättern.
Thank you. And can you tell us about how you and the community are affected by the army shooting in this area?
Yeah, we were aware of that there was increased military activity, shooting into the lake around 2012. And that was really a very big upset among people, because for many decades the activity had been rather low, but now they applied for a very big increase in their shootings. As we've heard Pia tell us about the number of different calibers of shots and rounds and even rockets into the lake. And we realize that this will have a big impact on the environment. And we also have learned that airplanes, jet fighters like JAS Gripen and other similar flights, they will fly very low over the ground, like 50 to 200 meters above ground, and they will fly over densely populated areas like the city where I live. So we are really not only disturbed by the noise, but we are also afraid of possible accidents, because this is a test ground for rather unexperienced pilots, and they are flying low, and we know that this increases the risk of accidents.
Do you want to tell us more about the shootings?
Well, we were really upset when the armed forces were allowed to increase their exercises with much more shootings in the area just south of a nearby city called Karlsborg. And we know, you could also see from Pia's presentation, that there is extremely much ammunition dumped into the lake. And on the west side of the lake, we have very shallow waters, and there are hundreds of tons of rockets and also different calibers of rounds. And most serious of all is that some of these rockets and other kinds of ammunition is unexploded. And there is a investigation which was initiated by the armed forces themselves 7 years ago, and that investigation showed that some of these ammunition are really dangerous for people, and some of them lie very close to recreation areas. And we found out this rather recently, this investigation, and it's obvious the armed forces has not done anything to clean up this very dangerous stuff. And we've also another organization, the Defense Material Administration, and they have had their permit to shoot grenades since the 90s, and it was renewed around 19 years ago. They shoot heavy grenades into a very sensitive area in the north part of the lake. And this is a big threat to biological life in not only the northern part of the lake Vättern, but also the poison and the heavy metals that is spread through these shootings will also dissipate all over the lake, because there is a current going anti-clockwise all around the lake. Another thing is that these explosives is really a threat to the char, the big, the storröding as we call it, and also to other endangered species, because these shrapnels are really destroying some of the grounds, the breeding ground for these species. And here you can see some of the ammunition and unexploded grenades and rockets are lying in shallow waters. There is no sediment whatsoever, and this is on the western side of the lake Vättern. So this is really dangerous.
Talking about the shootings, but what about the military airport? Is that affecting you as a person and the community as well?
Well, this is part of the maltreatment of our lake. The new permit allows a big increasing the activity, And I would just say very briefly about one of the big problems with the airport is that the ground is really polluted with very toxic material. It's the highly fluorinated PFOS and other chemicals which are extremely persistent, non-degradable, and they are accumulated within the food chain, and it's a threat to the drinking water, because now rather recent research has shown that these toxic chemicals are really provoking cancer, and they destroy or diminish the immune system, and they are also a threat to a pregnant woman because it's passing the placenta barrier, so it's also accumulated in the fetus. So these substances are extremely dangerous, and the awareness of this is increasing every year. So the so-called safe level for these chemicals has been lowering all the time, and now just half a year ago it was lowered like 1,000 times, and there is still no evidence whether we have a safe limit for those toxic substances.
And finally, what are you, as a member of the local society, asking the judges to do in this case?
Well, I think we have a great hope that it's possible to increase the awareness among public opinion, and I think we have a demand, and that is that Vttern must become a legal person with civil rights, like any other organization, company, or individual. Because if our lake and the drinking water is threatened, what can we really? How can we continue our life without drinking water? Impossible.
Thank you.
Okay.
And do the judges have any questions for the witness?
Here we go again. Well, thank you so much for being here today with us and representing the lake. I was wondering if you could share with us, translated into our human language that we all understand, what would the lake want us to know before we go into our deliberations on this case?
I can say that I am part of the lake in a way, so I feel very strongly that when there is already much poison in the lake, as we've heard before, dioxin and mercury and heavy metal, and now there is something that we have to stop really, because the accumulation of all these toxins is like a cocktail that is extremely dangerous for both for all biological life in the sea, but also for us humans.
Thank you.
I will ask a question. And but first I thank the affected Bengt Eriksson for your statement. It's very important that you deliver this statement here in the presence of the judges and prosecutor during ongoing session of the tribunal. Two of the ecological basic principle is that nothing disappears and everything will spread. It only takes a little bit time. But since the human body consists of about 70% of water, is it something that you should avoid is to make water contagious with hazardous fluids, etc., or materials, because sooner or later they will come into the human body. Maybe not upon us who is older, but the youth, the grandchildren and grandchildren. Does this worry you a lot, what you just have presented? Do you think much about it on your free time, or how do you feel about this, your personal well-being? How is it affected? Your social well-being in a country that allows this to happen here?
Yeah, well, I can say that I worry primarily for my children and grandchildren, because this there is a risk that this will accumulate. It's obvious, and I think it's really. I feel so angry because we used to look upon Sweden as a leading country when it comes to environment and protecting us from different threats to our lives, and now we have lots of environmental laws, and we have also implemented the Natura 2000, the water directive, and the habitat. We have all of these European Union regulations implemented into our Swedish laws, which should give very good protection for example, for Vttern. But it's obvious it's not enough. It depends on how it's interpreted, and it's also a question of how what stand politicians take. And I think we can have an influence on this process, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. Judge Tom Goldtooth, please.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'm making reference to, as I look at the Universal Declaration on the Rights of Mother Earth, there's an Article 3 on obligations of human beings to Mother Earth. I'm trying to think about tomorrow as I have to conclude my opinion. But in these cases in tribunals, there's always the question is, who's the perpetrator of the crime against Mother Earth? Who's the perpetrator in not respecting the life of the lake? And are there accessories to the crime? Accessories. People are governmental offices that participate in knowing that there's a risk, knowing that there's endangerment. And then there's the accomplice who actively participates in the commission of this crime. That's what my task is. Back home in our Lakota, and Dakota territories, we stood there in defense of the Hunkpapas at Standing Rock, South Dakota, to stop Dakota Access Pipeline. It was proposed to allow frack oil, hydrofracking, and the oil from up north to flow through there. And our leaders, our traditional leaders, spiritual leaders, said to the company and to the state environmental department and to the federal department is, have you asked permission from the river, Missouri River, to ram a pipeline underneath it, and with knowing that some time in the future that pipeline is going to leak? Have you asked permission? So there's two questions, is that within the culture of the Swedish people, not the Sami, do you feel that there's a feeling that there should be at least some requests to do an increase of military activities, shooting rockets, and has anyone ever asked permission from the lake? That's one. And then I understand from the previous testimony that the municipality, the environmental agencies, they knowingly know that there's an endangerment. So who do you feel then is the perpetrator of this crime against the lake and the ecosystem? And are there accomplices as well? Thank you.
Well, this is a very complex question, but it's obvious that we know that it's possible to interpret laws in different ways, and sometimes it's even a loophole where, for example, companies can find out ways to go around laws, and they can surpass laws. But what we've seen the last couple of years is that also the environmental court have difficulties to really get a good judgment according to the laws we have today, because some organizations seems to have possibilities to surpass these laws. So maybe we need stronger laws, or we need politicians, and we need to pressure our politicians to interpret the laws in a more strict way. And it's, of course, up to all of us to speak with our politicians, because this is a basically political issue. Yeah.
Thank you. Is it now time for my summarization? Summarize, okay. So I will now summarize today's session and give the concluding remarks of the prosecution. Bear with me, I will talk for a while now. The Lake Vättern is a very special lake, as we have heard, with high values both for nature, wildlife, and for humans. It is protected as a Natura 2000 site according to EU law, and as a water protection area, since it is the drinking water source for more than 250,000 people. However, it lacks legal rights. The drinking water is our most valuable foodstuff, and only around 3% of the world's water resources consist of fresh water. And of these 3%, 2 are bound to glaciers. Thus, fresh water is a very scarce and should be treated as a highly treasured resource. Strict environmental quality standards for water have been issued for the lake. The adoption by the international community of a sustainable development goal for water and of several UN resolutions recognizing the human right for safe drinking water and sanitation reflects the urgency of the matter. What measures will Sweden take to meet these goals and honor their population's human rights and the rights of the lake itself? How compatible is this industrial development with those environmental and public health goals? In a time when our planet and all its ecosystems are facing the consequences of climate change, it is imperative that we preserve our precious watersheds for future generations. Today we have heard the expert and the witness and a third party regards to the facts of the injuries already caused by the Swedish armed forces shooting into the lake and into habitats of fish and birds, and the threats of new mining projects by the Canadian company Leading Edge Material Corps and the Australian company European Cobalt Ltd. The Swedish armed forces are already using the Lake Vättern as a firing range and as a training field for their military airplanes, and they want to expand these activities. The armed forces are, as a matter of fact, treating the lake as an enemy grounds, and instead of protecting Swedish soil and water, they are destroying it. Blasting of grenades in surface and underwater conditions causes particularly great damage to the water ecosystem. The playground for the unique and protected species of har, grayling, as we have heard, have already been destroyed by the bombings. Bird life has also been greatly affected. For example, the osprey used to nestle in the area where when the military began its operation. Studies of birds and birds of prey at military training sites, near airports and along important air routes have shown negative effects on nesting, resting and wintering birds. The risk of disturbances of protected bird species is thus evident. The presence of some 5,500 tons of ammunition at the bottom of the lake, due to the military activity, constitutes another potential risk for the public health and the lake's ecosystem. The two mining companies are planning to start two different mines, one for extracting the so-called REE, rare earth minerals, and the other for extracting mainly cobalt. If they are giving the necessary permits, it would allow them to drill, blast, and deplete the natural resources of the region for at least the next 25 years. Future mining will impact the integrity of Lake Vättern, as toxic and radioactive substances may pollute the water resource. According to the Declaration of Right for Lake Vättern, the lake itself has an irrevocable right to exist, to flourish, and to naturally evolve. This includes not only the water body itself, but also all living things depending on the lake and its surroundings. Thus, it includes all living flora and fauna in the water and on the shores of the lake, such as fish species like the fish aspen, char, grayling, and river lamprey. The crayfish flodkräfta and different species of clams. Bird species such as osprey, two types of terns, silvertärna och fisktärna, and white-headed goose. The unique myriad of small insects of the beaches of Vättern. Bats. The larger bark snail, as even if it's the name, the larger, it is a very small snail, Ena montana, living on trees by the lake. And all the trees, by the way, and other flora species such as höstslinke and grovslinke. I could go on and on. According to a new report, as we heard about earlier today, around 1 million animal and plant species are now threatened by extinction. Ecosystems, species and wild populations are shrinking, deteriorating or vanishing. 3/4 of the land-based environment and about 66% of the marine environment have been significantly altered by human actions. All the current threats discussed here in this session today also increases the risk of biodiversity depletion. But the issue of right of nature and the Lake Vättern is also inseparable from the issue of human rights. The ongoing harmful activities, as well as the plans for new ones, will bring serious risk also for people who live and have their incomes around the lake. And of course also for all those who take the drinking water from Vättern. The expert and the witness are asking the tribunal to take action. I, as prosecutor, analyzing the evidence, take this petition as valid and understand its importance, and ask the panel of judges to seriously consider this petition within your verdict I asked the tribunal to find that these injuries and threats rise to the level of violation of the rights of nature and human rights, and also against the Declaration of Rights of Lake Vättern. These injuries and threats are a cause of larger system of legal and economic rules. When I first started out as a young lawyer, I thought that the main problem was crimes against environmental laws. But soon I realized that the problem was much more complex and severe. About 90% of all pollution and environmental harm have been or have at least been completely legal. Our legal and economic system are at fault, and they are not enough to prevent even serious harm to the environment. This is true both in Sweden and in most of the rest of the world. In Sweden, we don't have a constitutional right to a clean and healthy environment for neither humans nor nature itself. The Constitutional Act, the instrument of government, only states that the Swedish authorities shall promote the sustainable development which leads to a good environment for current and future generations. According to the major Swedish Environmental Act, the Environmental Code, it is not, as a general rule, prohibited to pollute or use soil and water, but you cannot pollute too much. However, it is prohibited to issue a permit for an activity that would harm a Natura 2000 site and or a permit that would lead to exceeding of environmental quality standards for water. Even if this seems clear, the problem is the way the laws are almost always interpreted in favor of the party who are causing the harm. I asked the tribunal to find that our legal and economic systems violate the rights of nature and human rights and the Declaration of the Rights of Lake Vättern. I asked the court to find that these injuries should be rectified. The rights of the lake must be protected and damages must be repaired. The tribunal should order the Swedish armed forces and the companies to conduct their activities in a way that will not cause harm to the lake or to human rights. If this is not possible, they will have to terminate what they are doing. The armed forces should also be forced to clean up all damages that they have caused. This includes investigating which dangerous substances can be found in soil and groundwater at the Karlsborg airport and the beaches and the bottom of the lake. It also includes taking all necessary steps to clean up the contaminated areas. I also asked the tribunal to order the authorities to at least follow the existing environmental laws and interpret them in a way that regards the right of nature, the human rights, and the rights of the Lake Vättern. This includes not permitting hazardous activities such as the expansion of the shootings into the lake, the expansion of the military airport, and the new mining projects, threatening to harm the lake and all living creatures within and close by. In detail, this means that the government, who is the examining authority concerning the appeals for both the expansion of the shooting into the lake and the military airport, should grant the appeals. The government should also decide on new directives for the military not to use drinking water as an enemy. All military training may be conducted in a more suitable place. Existing permits, according to the environmental code for both military activities, should be annulled. Because of this, the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency or the Swedish Agency for Marine and Water Management, or both, should be ordered to apply to the Land and Environmental Court to revoke the permit. The court will then have to hand over the case to the government with an opinion. I see I'm out of time, but I hope I can finish. Is that okay? Thank you. The mining inspectorate should reject the application for exploitation concession according to the Minerals Act by the Leading Edge Material Corps at Norra Kärr. The exploration permit according to the Minerals Act at Havsmon. The mining inspectorate should reject a future application for an exploitation concession according to the Minerals Act by the European Cobalt Ltd at Havsmon. The Land and Environmental Court should reject a future application for an environmental permit according to the Environmental Code for mining at Havsmon. And finally, and most importantly, I also urge the tribunal to order the Swedish Parliament to change the existing laws. The Parliament should be ordered to adapt a law that recognizes that the right of nature is essential to support human life, since the human right to life cannot be protected without protecting the rights of Mother Earth to exist and function. This, of course, includes officially recognizing that the Lake Vättern has rights. Recognizing that the lake is a living system of which humans are a part, rather than a human property to be owned and destroyed, is a fundamental shift from the legal system we have today. We have to stop treating the lake as commodity. These are my requests. I now leave it to the tribunal to decide how to best ensure that the rights of the Lake Vättern is being upheld by companies and authorities. Thank you.
I thank the prosecutor Gunilla Högberg Björck for the conclusion statement. I now give the judge Margaret Stewart the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I wanted to first share just how honored I am to be able to serve at this tribunal today. And I wanted to thank our esteemed prosecutor, our knowledgeable expert, our thoughtful representative of Mother Earth, and to Lake Vättern herself. The evidence that you've shared with this tribunal is essential to not only inform this panel of judges so that we may offer our ruling on the case presented, but also to shed light on these alleged current and potential violations of the rights of Mother Earth. And I thank you for providing us with this essential information. These tribunals are an important illustration of what legal results we would get if the inherent rights of our Mother Earth were recognized. It gives us this opportunity to listen to what she has to say as she asserts those rights in a legal setting. Because, whether we hear it or not, she's always speaking. And she should not have to scream at the top of her lungs before we start listening. So what these tribunals do is they give us a mechanism to hear what she has to say and allow her to assert those rights against those who may violate it. So this panel has been asked to determine if these three proposed activities discussed and the treatment of Lake Vättern violate the rights of Mother Earth as recognized in the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth. According to Article 2 of the Declaration, Mother Earth and all beings of which she is composed have inherent rights, including the right to water as a source of life, the right to be free from contamination, pollution, and toxic or radioactive waste, that each being has the right to a place and to play its role in Mother Earth for her harmonious functioning, among many other rights that are recognized. Today, this tribunal has heard testimony on the destructive impacts of the the impacts of military shooting exercises, mining operations, and increased aerial activity in and around Lake Vättern. Recognizing the declaration as the rule of law, we will determine if these activities constitute a violation of Mother Earth's rights. We have evidence from the prosecution and have received responses from some of the accused violators, and we will take all of this into account during our deliberations to determine if we've fulfilled or if we've breached our obligations to Mother Earth as they're set forth in Article 3 of the Declaration. If the evidence proves that these activities will make it impossible to protect and uphold the ecological integrity of the water and soil in and around Lake Vättern, causing irreversible cumulative harm, this will constitute a violation of both the rights and our obligations set forth in the Declaration. Because irrespective of their value to humans, our Mother Earth and all the members of her Earth community have inherent rights. And the evidence presented shows that not only is the integrity of Lake Vättern already compromised by human activities, but these proposed activities pose a risk of even greater degradation. And this is what we must consider in light of the governing declaration. So we take this task that we are charged with very seriously and will deliberate accordingly. As we analyze this case and consider potential solutions, I'm reminded of a quote from Thomas Berry, the father of Earth jurisprudence. He said, "Two things are needed to guide our judgment for the challenges ahead: a certain alarm at what is happening at present, and a fascination with the future available to us if we respond creatively and to the urgencies of the present." And this is what we will do with this essential evidence provided to the tribunal today. Thank you very much.
And then now I grant Judge Tom Goldtooth to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is very a sensitive topic to me. I'd like to thank our expert who's given us information and evidence, the prosecutor as well, and also the witnesses. It's very, very important on what they sent, and thank you for this opportunity. Why it's very sensitive to me is that as an indigenous person, as an indigenous man, it's very, we understand what that relationship is to the sacredness of not just Mother Earth, but the water itself. It's part of the creation of who we are. Many of you had heard that meme that came out of Standing Rock in 2016. Mini Wichoni, Mini Wichoni. Water is life. But few people know the long translation of that. In many of our indigenous languages, some expressions, some terms are hard to translate, difficult. But this is one of those cases that is coming to mind because it shows that there's a crime taking place right here in Sweden, a crime against the sacredness of the water, the lake, its ecosystem, a crime against Mother Earth and Father Sky. There's a life cycle between the water of the oceans and the lakes, the springs, the rivers, and that transformation and transpiration into the atmosphere, into the clouds, is part of the circle of life. What happens if that's contaminated? What happens to the quality of life? What happens to the inherent rights of Mother Earth? So water plays an integral role. Water has consciousness. Water has and intelligence and must be treated as such. That's very critical as I look at this case. So here I'm hearing another situation in another part of the world where the state and the corporations are saying, well, this is all about lake and ecosystem management. But it's not. This is another failure. It should be a situation of the management of people, the consciousness of people as caretakers, as guardians of the sacredness of the lake. It should be the situation of the management of people for the benefit of the lake and its ecosystem. Somehow, here in Sweden, it's been reversed. I don't know how long ago that reversed happened, because I understand there were a lot of tribal people that understood the sacredness of the relationship to the land and to the water here in Europe, here in Sweden. So we have to, I'm looking at this case. I appreciate everything that was talked about, and will take everything into consideration. Again, I'm looking at where in the Universal Declaration on the Rights of Mother Earth to strengthen the verdict and also to strengthen my final decision for tomorrow. And who are the perpetrators of this crime against Mother Earth, this crime against the inherent rights of the lake to be healthy, and who are the accomplices? Who are the accomplices that are allowing this to happen? Those are very critical to me. So I will take this into all consideration tonight and present tomorrow. In summary, I heard of the negative effects of the corporations, including pulp and paper mills, the military, the Swedish military, and the governmental bodies that are allowing these violations to continue. So it is a familiar story of ecocide, and it's terroricide, ecocide. And we should be here to celebrate that being of the water, that spirit of the water. So that's my comment I want to make today, and then come up with my support of the verdict for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the points of view from the judges. I will end the judge's statement. It's the Swedish membership of the European Union was said when it came to the referendum. It was the world's biggest peace project. It was happening in 1995. And it's understandable that those who live in faraway areas from capital do wants to have peace and avoid experiences of the past, war with your neighboring countries. And the majority of the Swedish citizens voted yes to a peace project, to be membership of the European Union, to be able to travel to other countries, to enjoy the history, the culture, the language, the cuisine from neighboring countries. And also at home, in your own backyard, to have a food production, access to clean water, water sovereignty. So even not your neighbor, even if you didn't own the lake or part of the lake, your neighbors could not poison it because it's fun or other reasons, make money. And also to enjoy a social, healthy life. The statement from expert Pia Björstrand and the witnessing affected, Bengt Eriksson, was very touching. And the intervention from third party, Carl Schlüter, was effectively showing the importance in what the statement has been brought forward. prosecutor conclusion from Gunilla Högberg Björck was very efficient and very clear. To me, it is very open, and it cannot be said that this is a major public interest. It is not a major public interest to have those kind of military exercise and military shootings on the way they are described. And furthermore, it violates the Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth. So together with my judges, we will conclude, and we will also have this in-depth discussion and present the result tomorrow. With this tribunal, the judges are finished. We are ending today's statement. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for today. And we're gonna, as Stefan said, we're gonna finish off for the part 1. And we have the part 2 tomorrow at 9:15 in the morning, where the verdict will be presented by our judges. And to finish off today, I would like to invite Tom Goldtooth to sing us a song.
I'd like to ask permission from our president and the other Sami to share one of our indigenous songs from North America. I'd like to ask everyone to stand if you're able to. I'm going to sing the short version of this song. Again, we're talking about the life energy. There's a lot of teachings that I picked up today, teachings that are very dear to all of us. I felt the sensitivity in every one of you, your heart, your mind, your spirit, about this situation and how we treat Mother Earth. This song is about all that. We're also dealing with the imbalance between the male energy and the female energy, the overabundance of maleness, the destruction against the sacredness of our Mother Earth, the violence, domestic abuse and sexual abuse of our women. So we are in that time of life. We have to figure things out. So this song was given to me to sing by my teacher, my grandpa, Pitacha Yuhamani, a holy man. And he said, when you sing this song, when you share it, I have people look deep into themselves. Have people look deep in the spirit of yourself and your mind and your heart. As we all cast out our thoughts, we cast out to a far place in hopes that we will be recognized and affirmed in what we are doing in our life. To live a good life, to live in balance with our relations. All this and much more in this song. So I'm not going to sing the words to this song. But imagine in your mind as you're casting out a voice, and then in return a voice will come back. When I came here, I talked about the Lady of the Lake. And this is a reminder, there's a Lady of the Lake. What happened to her? There's many stories in Europe of the lady, the woman, the Lady of the Lake. What happened to her? very much. Dr. Yomasi.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, the tribunal, judges, prosecutor, expert, witness, Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature for bringing this event to us, and thanks to all of us for opening to the damage being done even in a country like Sweden. Just some practicalities before dinner. For those of you who are staying here tonight, breakfast is from 7, and we gather again in the same place we gathered for the outdoor activity. We're gathering for a morning celebration at 8:30. And the dinner will be served like as a seated dinner, so please be on time at 7. And before that there will be a bar. So you can just hang around if you want to, or do whatever you need to do. And by the bar, there will be a book signing. We're also celebrating the first book on rights of nature in Swedish. So if you want a copy, go there and get it signed. It's 200 Swedish crowns. And if you don't know how to swish, you can talk to Ingrid and Niklas, who will be there to serve you. What else? Maybe not so much, Peder? I don't know. Yes. After dinner from 9, there will be a Remembrance Circle here for Polly Higgins, one of the great earth warriors, earth lawyers, who died just a few weeks ago. And Polly was a keynote speaker at the first Rights of Nature conference that we held in 2014, and she set off a lot of things for us. So I wanted to end this day before dinner with just reading a short piece of her book, I Dare You to Be Great. It's a challenge I've set myself. Not just in my public speaking, but in the small moments of my life, when I'm given a chance to step up or walk away. I dare to be great. I've discovered that something happens when we set an intent. Life throws us opportunities to meet the challenge. Our world takes on a different color. Suddenly life becomes an adventure. My work advocating a law that puts the health and well-being of people and planet first is no longer a job, but a quest. It's the quester's journey. Not knowing what will come next, but putting trust that each step will lead to another that will help me on my way. When we direct ourselves and take charge of our lives, we create a space for something new to emerge. It's an adventure, and I know that Polly would have loved to have us partying for the earth, which is what we are doing and what we will continue to do. And there will be also music here after the Remembrance Circle, and I know that she's here with us. So thank you for today.
Good morning. Welcome to the second day of the Earth Rights Conference. We are changing the story, and it's a privilege to be here together with you today. And the first thing that we are going to hear is the result from the judges of the Tribunal on the Rights of Lake Vättern. Before we do that, I need to inform you about the schedule change that we need to make. So we will have the tribunal on the rights of Lake Vättern decision from the judges, and then we will have fika at 10:30. There will be coffee at 10:30, and you need to check out of your rooms during that break. That is actually totally imperative. And there is no excuse. Have I made myself clear? And after that break, we are going to listen to the keynote from Tom Goldtooth. And then we will, after that, we will give you more information about how we do with the workshops and the lunch. We will probably start with the lunch a little bit late. How are you doing? Thank you. We have also visitors from all over the world that can follow us on the online event that is hosted by Archie Pasanen. And online we have David Bennett, yes. And if you are lucky, Archie will grab you and talk with you. So, thank you very much, and I leave the stage to the judges of the Tribunal of Lake Vättern. I will do that a little bit later. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here, and a special thank you for Vättern, who is also here with us. So during this session, the focus will be on presenting the verdict of the judges. First, the judges, Margaret and Tom, are going to present their final comments, and then Stefan, as president, will read the verdict. And at the end of the session, we will be uniting with the water, and the water in Vättern will stay with us until the end of the conference. And before I give the word to Margaret, I would like to just show a short video of the Bond Tribunal that we held in Germany, the International Rights of Nature Tribunal, as a way for you to just see how it can look like on the international level. Let's see if I can. If there is sound. Okay, we have sound on the computer. Ska jag testa igen? Okay.
Now is the time to protect humanity and the preservation of all life on this planet and for future generations. So, in recognition of the charges and the mandates of our judges and our experts and the people who are coming to make presentations, as the president of this International Right of Nature Tribunal here in Bonn, Germany, I call this International Tribunal to order. connection to the sacredness of Mother Earth.
Thank you so much. Now I'm going to give the word, actually maybe better to Stefan, and then he passes it to the judges. Thank you.
Pori idiet, hyvää huomenta. Dobre utra, god morgon allesamman. Good morning every one of you. I just greeted you good morning in the languages that divided my homeland, or represent a division of my homeland, Sápmi. I thank you also for the company during the dinner, and of course for the storytelling and many laughs during the short night here in Sigtuna. I hope you slept well, at peace, during the early morning's hours before breakfast. With these words, I declare the judges to order during our session in the Tribunal for the Rights of Lake Vättern. And I grant Judge Margaret to make a statement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, and thank you all for returning today for the conclusion of this tribunal. My fellow judges and I deliberated on the evidence presented to us yesterday, and in light of the governing law, the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth, we will present our verdict to you shortly. We've built in a little anticipation for the morning to keep it interesting. But first, I just wanted to take a few minutes to discuss the Universal Declaration, so we all understand the importance of this document and the motivation behind the incredible people who came together in Cochabamba in 2010. This document represents what could be. Okay? What could be if we took the emphasis off the human and shifted it to the greater Earth community. What could be if we rejected our traditional notions of exploitation and mass consumption and embraced a mutually enhancing relationship with our Mother Earth. What could be if we used our role in this interdependent system that we belong to ensure its care and its harmonious collaboration between all of its members. As Thomas Berry said, the world is an amazing technological accomplishment in its own right. And we, as the human species, have the power, we have the inherent compassion, and we have the unique opportunity to shape our communities and global worldview through documents like the Declaration, so that we utilize and benefit from this accomplishment and don't continually fight against it. We can create a world that prioritizes our Mother Earth over our individual short-term needs. Because, we mustn't forget that we are Mother Earth. When we refer to nature, the natural world, the ecosystem, Mother Earth, all of these different ways that we have of referring to her, we're talking about ourselves as well. We're all a part of this one system. There's no nature out there, as beautiful as what's out that window is, it's not out there. And as we sit in this beautiful place, surrounded by, some of the best elements that our Earth community has for us, we have to remember that it also exists in our concrete, air-conditioned building that we have made very, very far away from anything that's naturally green. It's there as well. The air that we're breathing, the water coming out of our faucets, the land that we've built on, and every being that we come in contact with is part of this Earth community. And we have to start organizing ourselves in a manner that respects not only the rights that each member of this community inherently has, but also acknowledges our own role and obligations within this system. And that's what this document does, and that's why we rely on it to inform our judgment on these matters. So in this case, we heard from experts, we heard from affected parties, we heard from tireless advocates for Mother Earth's integrity, and we heard from the lake herself. And the evidence presented regarding the treatment of Lake Vttern was truly heartbreaking and ultimately constituted a complete violation of the declaration. In all three examples presented, human activity caused widespread ecological degradation with little to no regard for the effect it had on our common home. To say nothing of human reliance on this specific incredible body of water, this gift that has been given to us by the Earth community, the effects of its treatment are not only disappointing, but it's against our own interest. It's a violation of our role in this mutually enhancing relationship and the declaration governing this tribunal. So my fellow judges will be sharing their reactions to the case as well, and we will present to you our final verdict in just a few moments. I wanted to thank you all again for attending this tribunal and for allowing us to preside over this important case. So with the President's permission, I'd like to pass the floor over to my fellow judge, Tom Goldtooth.
Thank you. I'm betu tetra kade nga Hana washtedo. Good morning. All my relations. We are all related to each other. That's how I want to start out my presentation. I've heard testimony yesterday of experts and this witness that lives around the lake. They raised their voices in solidarity to speak for the protection of the water for Lake Vttern. I have learned that the lake is a source of water for large parts of southern Sweden. I think I heard the number 250,000 plus people. I've heard evidence of the numerous destructive impacts of increased Swedish military shooting exercises, mining operations with the contamination of heavy metals, and increased aerial activity in and around the lake. Their words spoke to me, for within my culture, the Creator placed us on this Mother Earth, Unchimaka, to care for all of creation, to govern ourselves as peoples who are principled, to ensure the protection and purity of water, for this water that gives us life, everyone life. As indigenous peoples, we recognize, honor, and respect water as a sacred and powerful gift from the Creator. We know that by listening to the songs of this lake, Vttern, all creation will continue to breathe. Our knowledge, laws, and ways of life teach us to be responsible and at all times in caring for this sacred gift that connects all life and connects us to Father Sky. This law of transpiration is part of the creative principles and natural laws of this world, of the universe. As a judge of this tribunal, I am reminded of the songs of water that begin in the springs, continues with the tiniest of our streams, and transforming to become the flowing rivers that travel to the oceans, the seas, and going back into the lightning clouds and back to the earth, our cycle of life. When water is threatened, all living things are threatened. The hearts of our people cry when we see the ways in which people, through governments, from municipalities to state-level environmental agencies and political leaders, to the private sector and corporations and military operations that destroy the sacredness of this water, of all water, in their disrespect of the spirit, life, energy. It also affects the intelligence, the consciousness of this lake, the personality of this lake. As water has given us life, We must fight for the life of water. We must continue to hear her songs and protect the sacred gift. When water is disrespected and misused, we see the life-threatening impacts on all of creation. We hear the sad and painful songs of the water, of the land, and of our peoples, of your peoples here. We hear the water's call for protection now. That woman of the lake, she is real, she is alive, but she needs all of our help. She needs your help to stand up and to mobilize and to organize. Without water, nothing can come together. Matter could not come together without moisture. We know that. Every part of creation took part in the creation of the physical life. Life could not have come together without water and without the spiritual motivation. In this case, before the tribunal, I heard testimony and was provided documentation regarding the ecological integrity and inherent rights of this lake in Sweden, and whether these actions presented to us constitute violations of those rights. In consultation with my other colleague, my other judge, and our president, who also is fulfilling his responsibility as a judge, we have concluded in a joint final verdict, speaking as one mind, one heart, and one voice, that the arguments were well-founded as to why the rights enshrined in this Universal Declaration on the rights of Mother Earth, the rights of nature, have been breached. Thank you. I turn it over to our president.
Before the verdict is presented, will I leave a brief statement. We all have human rights as the humans we are. We have the right to have healthy water in our surroundings. We have the right to have safe environment for our grandchildren and coming generations. We have the right to breathe fresh air. We have the right to live in peace with neighboring countries, with different peoples and cultures. We have the right to have a living wildlife with fish in the waters, animal in the forest, and birds sailing in the winds. And we have the right to have clouds that delivers precipitation free from contamination. We have the right to have the ecosystem near our homes and in our region unaffected, so that we ourselves will become healthy and live a long life with our family and neighbors. And at the same time, we have to limit our own ecological footprints so that other peoples and cultures globally can continue to flourish. It is not the major public interest that the opposite will happen. With this motivation, together with the statements from Judge Tom Goldtooth and Margaret Stewart, will I deliver our common verdict. We, the judges of the Tribunal of Rights of Lake Vättern, find that the destructive impacts of increased military shooting exercises, mining operations, and increased aerial activity in and around Lake Vättern violate the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth. The Tribunal for the Rights of Lake Vättern has been created to provide systemic rights of nature-based alternatives to the false solutions and failed negotiations of the private industries and governmental entities responsible for these destructive acts. It provides a vehicle for reframing and adjudicating prominent environmental and social justice cases within the context of a rights of nature-based earth jurisprudence. The adjudication process provides a platform for informal legal analysis of diverse cases based on rights of nature. In our final written judgment, the Tribunal will recommend actions for reparation, mitigation, restoration, and prevention of further damages and harm. In the case before this tribunal, testimony was given regarding the ecological integrity and inherent rights of Lake Vättern in Sweden, and whether 3 specific actions constitute violation of those rights. Analyzing the evidence presented in the light of the governing law of the declaration, we find that the proposed increase in military shooting exercise, the proposed mining operation in and around Lake Vättern, and the expansion of military airport violate the rights and obligations set out in Articles 2 and 3 of the declaration. According to Article 2 of the declaration, Mother Earth and all beings of which she is composed have certain rights, including 1. The right, life, and to exist. 2. The right to be respected. 3. The right to regenerate its biocapacity and to continue its vital cycles and processes free from human disruptions. 4. The right to maintain its identity and integrity as a distinct, self-regulating and interested being. 5. The rights to water as a source of life. 6. The right to clean air. 7. The right to integral health. 8. The right to be free from contamination, pollution, and toxic or radioactive waste. 9. The right to not have its genetic structure modified or disrupted in a manner that threatens its integrity or vital and health functioning. 10. The right to full and prompt restoration for violation of its right by human activity. 11. And each being's right to a place and to play its role in Mother Earth for her harmonious functioning and to live free from torture and cruel treatment by human beings. Based on the evidence presented, including 1. The increased risk of biodiversity depletion due to the activities discussed. 2. The presence of some 5,500 tons of ammunition at the bottom of the lake due to military activity, with come evidence of unexploded evidence. 3. The potential for toxic and radioactive substances seeping into the groundwater and polluting Lake Vättern as a result of mining operations. 4. Degradation to the flora and fauna in and on the shores of the lake. 5. And serious disturbances of the protected animals, birds, and wildfowl in and around the lake due to noise pollution and contamination. Lake Vättern is a very special body of water which serves as a source of life to not only the nature and wildlife in and around the lake, but also to a significant population around Sweden. Based on the evidence presented, the current and proposed treatment of the lake constitutes a clear violation of the rights of Mother Earth. Along with rights comes obligations. Based on the evidence presented to this tribunal, we find that the entities responsible for the 3 proposed activities discussed have violated the obligations of human beings to Mother Earth set forth in Article 3 of the Declaration. By failing to act in accordance with the rights recognized in the Declaration, failing to recognize and promote the full implementation and enforcement of the rights and obligations of the Declaration, failing to rectify the violations already committed, failing to establish precautionary measures to prevent such harm, and failing to promote economic systems that are in harmony with Mother Earth and in accordance with the Declaration. We find that the actions of the named parties clearly violate the rights of Mother Earth as recognized in the Declaration. Following this verdict, this tribunal will prepare and make available to all parties a full judgment consisting of our final verdict and our recommendations for potential reparation, mitigation, restoration, and prevention of further damages and harm to the lake. We thank all those who presented before this tribunal and conclude our findings here. And now this verdict is officially and publicly presented.
So thank you so much for presenting this verdict. And as a closing, we're inviting everyone who would like to come up and greet Vttern. And we will also have some singing from Irene. Welcome.
Us that she was calling out a petition to the Mother Earth, and the laws of Mother Earth. At this time, I want people to come up. Those people that just want to come up here to put your own petition to the water, you can do that and then sit down. And the water ceremony with our people in Minnesota is very important. We revitalize our old traditional ways, and as our Eastern Bedewa Kantawa Oyate, the Eastern band of our Dakota Nation, the people who dwell along the sacred lakes. We live in Munster Ojibwe, the Anishinaabe. We also live with the Ho-Changre, the Ho-Chunk peoples, as well as Menominee and Oneidas. We're all of the Great Lakes. We're not of the prairie land. So water and the relationship to water is very special to us. And we're made of the water. That's how we believe. So one thing we revitalize is that the woman, the role of our women is that they are the keepers of the water. That's why it's appropriate to have our sister that to petition for the water. And the men, we are the keepers of the fire in our ceremonies. That's our role, to keep these fires burning, that spiritual knowledge, and our women with the knowledge of the water. So that's how we come together, understanding what our roles are, eh? And so as I said the other day, this understanding of water as a giver of life. Many of the elders and back home, not only Dakotas who speak with the D, the Lakotas who speak with the L, and the Nakotas who speak with the N, is that when the mothers, when they're carrying the child, and it's a time for the life to come, to flow out, there's the passing of the water, eh? The passing of the water. That is the Mini Wichoni. That is life, and the water is the passing of that water. It's a long description and a story to that, but that's the simplistic translation of that word you heard a couple years ago from Standing Rock, North Dakota. Is that so? Our sister from the Maui people, they understand that. I talked to her earlier. They live in the island in the oceans, and so there are witnesses to the water in the ocean. We have witnesses all over the world as indigenous peoples. And so that's why I really learned a lot here from you. And so this water was given to us as a start of this tribunal. So this is appropriate as we end the tribunal to have you petition the water in your own way. And a couple people can do it all at once and get in line. There could be 4 people just honoring the water with your silent words. If you want to say something, go ahead. I don't know if we have time for someone to sing. We have, I don't know how many people is going to come up, but there is a time situation here. And then we're going to ask someone to appropriately take the water out to maybe the base of a tree out there. And then I think they're going to let people go check out your bags and then come back. And then that's my presentation after you get back. So I guess now, if you want to come up, petition the water.
I just wanted to also quickly inform that this verdict that has been presented today will be shared with all the actors within the case. They will be informed and will be able to also reply to this verdict.
Singing a song, come up and petition the water. The song will be the backdrop. Thank you.
Thank you.
The water and put some on your forehead, on your head. Go ahead and do that. It's here to share herself with you.
Maybe some of you have heard this song. It's a water song. The river is flowing. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth is carrying me, her child I will always be. Mother Earth, carry me back to the sea. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth is carrying me, her child I will always be. Mother Earth is carrying me back to the sea. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth is carrying me, her child I will always be. Mother Earth is carrying me back to the sea. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth is carrying me, her child I will always be. Mother Earth is carrying me back to the sea. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth is carrying me, her child I will always be. Mother Earth is carrying me back to the sea. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth is carrying me, her child I will always be. Mother
the sea. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth is carrying me, and I will always be. Mother Earth is carrying me back to the sea.
So, it's time for fika. Oh, sorry, Stefan. I didn't mean to.
As long as we have water where fish can swim. As long as we have land where the reindeers graze and wander. As long as we have land where the wild can hide, have we consolation on this earth. When our homes no longer exist and our land are devastated, where shall we live then? Paulus Utsi. As president of the judges, I declare that the judges have fulfilled our duties and obligation. The judge session will soon be ended. I thank the Judge Margaret Stewart, and I thank Judge Tom Goldtooth for good cooperation and good strength. I also thank the Secretariat. I thank the audience and the spectators for your support and strong thoughts. They would reach us all during the length of time. The judge session are ended.
I've talked to our Secretariat, I've talked to our other host here, and so they have a few words they're going to share with you about what the schedule is right now. But I explained that this water is finished for right now. It carried us, it was part of us for this tribunal. And so we like to have some women come and carry this water out. And there's another bowl back here too, so we don't forget this other bowl of water. And I don't think this was lake water, but this was lake water. So we need some women to carry this out to outside and present it in your whatever comes natural to you. Pour it at the base of a tree, the roots of the tree. So we'd like to ask you to do that. And some of you want to take part in that and go outside with them and support them, you can. Those that need to go check out of your room, do that. I'm going to turn it over to...
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, for bringing this tribunal to us. And it's now time for